Your definition of fun is wrong.
And you gotta make the best out of it.
I did. I walked
You
that
did.
through. Good.
Except for future like the podcast we're going to play. I said the future right is made. Listen.
Is it going to change your mind?
No.
No. Sometimes his contrary nature makes going open to the face.
Yeah, no, he likes it.
He does. He loves it.
I stay with these guys. This one has
All the boys are having this matter. All the guys are apparently matter. They have a quorum in there. They shouldn't do that. There's four of them. This is the information.
Fine, thank you. No.
sorry. Yes, sir.
For our front runners.
They didn't see it. Somebody was looking.
Oh, now you just got him going again. I know he said it.
So those are the glasses.
How much do you want to she never touched it for?
So I do more than one now.
That's what you start wearing reading glasses. Reading glasses. My daughter said, "Why wear my glasses?" No, because I've been squeaking for 3 years. So, long way to go, Heather.
I didn't buy it. Yeah, the last Thursday I came home, and my in-laws are sitting there with my wife, and they're like, beside me. And I'm like, hold on, let me go put my suit down. I come back and I sit down and look at it, and I'm like,
I have a report.
but at first I'm all like, oh,
Raise my hand.
We'll convene the regular board meeting of the Board of Education at 7:09. Pledge of Allegiance be led by Board Member Alex Zuko.
Please rise. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
Let the record reflect that everybody's here in their places. We had report on the special education study session held, and we took no reportable action. And report on special Board of Education closed session, we also took no reportable action. We have one item to change this evening. We're going to pull item 7.8 from the agenda. Anything else to pull? Take up 2.6 with the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Motion and a second.
Board Member Zuko?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Williams?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
2.6.1 in a motion.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Thank you.
Board Member Zuko?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Williams?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Abstain.
Board
I was,
President
yeah.
Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
We have quite a number of people here this evening to be recognized for a lot of really good stuff that's happening in our district. And I'd like to have Patrick Garcia come up and make a lot of introductions of some really high caliber people that did a lot of hard work.
For the professional productions. Yeah. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. It is an honor to be here tonight. And we have some folks over here. Can I bring them up too? Yes? So, folks, can you come up? This is Julia Clegg, Susan Motander, Helen Hernandez, Kim Petula, Joanne Spring, and Jeffrey Lowen. Just a small representation of the folks that help us to produce these professional productions for the community, which I think are a huge benefit to our students and the community. So we are delighted to be here tonight. Thank you very much for honoring us.
And what play was it, Patrick?
The last one?
Yeah.
So as many of you probably know, we had a fire at the theater, in not just the theater, but at the high school building a week before we were supposed to open Hairspray. And so we did a lot of changing around, and all of these folks that are standing behind me worked incredibly hard to make sure that the production could come off, and we did so, and I think everything turned out great, and those people that saw it, I think, loved it and enjoyed it. So thank you.
And we have certificates suitable for framing for each of the people behind you, as well as your entire team.
Thank you.
Because we thought it would be more than appropriate to not only recognize those who really worked so hard to make this production happen. This is where the show really did go on. And it became this movable feast that really delighted audiences. And it's a team that has learned to work and row together over several productions. And so Hairspray really became kind of a culminating activity with an amazing effort and an amazing production. So we wanted to take this opportunity and thank all of you for your hard work.
Thank you.
And your reward will come in heaven, other than the certificates.
And I want to thank you as well, Dr. Tarosian, and the board as well. Never once during that crazy week did we ever hear no or let's not do the show. It was always let's try and figure out a way to make this happen. So I'm extremely appreciative of that. Thank you so much.
Let's go.
I'm not going first.
Okay.
Nobody filed against it.
Nobody filed against you.
Oh, yeah, nobody filed
Nobody filed against you. 6 more years. Nobody filed against you. Thank you for your support.
Joanne, you're kind of small.
Joanne, you're up here with us.
We told folks.
Patrick in front.
Hey, Kathy, we're trying to take a picture here. It's not big.
Joanne, yours, I'm going to find that.
They can be any certificate. Right here. Say Betty, I mean, right?
Just follow Jim. Thank you. Helen, I have yours. Kim, I think.
Yeah, call me on the cell because I'm going to be in Temecula.
Truly, thank you to everybody that was involved in the production of Hairspray. I'd like to thank the community who showed up to go watch the production of Hairspray. Also, because of the fire, there were some things that happened at the high school that had to be moved around. One of them is that the church, which is normally in the auditorium, was moved to the field. They were given complimentary tickets to go see Hairspray, which a number of them did use. And so there were more people who took advantage of some of the things that were going on at the high school. And truly thank you to the community for showing up and going to Arcadia, which graciously opened up their auditorium to us so that we could continue with that production. And as always, Patrick, fantastic job. Thanks very much. Yeah. And now we get to be introduced to some really, really fine folks who have who make our district better. And I'd like to invite Courtney Glass to come up and introduce Jaden to the community and our audience.
Jaden, why don't you come on up, buddy? Wherever he is. You get to protect me. On behalf of the principal, Jennifer Jackson, who could not be here tonight, and myself, I'm up here representing Clifton Middle School, and standing next to me is a young man who came to us partway through 6th grade and joined Clifton, and it was a different start for him. He did not start the year with us that year, but he quickly figured out how things worked. And over the course of the last 2 years, 2+ years now, we have seen him grow into a young man who you can see him walking across campus. Number one, because he is one of the tallest kids, as you can see. He's almost eye to eye with me. I think I still got him by an inch or two. But he also, as you can see right now, he always has that smile on his face, and that's one of the things that that does set him apart. He walks into a room and he has that personality that everybody responds to. So Jaden has done wonderful over his time as an athlete in the classroom, working hard, and we look forward to seeing what he's going to do in high school and beyond as he continues. So this is Jaden Delgado, and his family is here as well tonight to celebrate him. The award he got was the Every Student Succeeding Award from AXA, which is California School Administrators. So, Jaden Delgado. And your brother and sister.
Working, Jason.
Talent.
That one just stay like that.
Mr. Tech Master.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I'm here to introduce my parents. My father is right there. His name is Angel. My mom, Cindy. My little brother and sister, Charlie and Desmond. Just here to say thank you. And I'm gonna continue to succeed. I'm sorry.
Up next, I'd like to have Dr. Kaiser, please, introduce to our audience and the community a couple of very special principals who received a very prestigious award as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Board and President Hammond. I would like to introduce to you tonight Amy Dyrek first. Mrs. Amy Dyrek, please join me. AXA Region 15 has a series of leadership awards that they award every year. And Amy, a nomination was submitted for Amy, and she won against 56 districts in Southern California as the new Administrator of the Year. And she will be honored at a dinner in April at the Castaways in Burbank by the association. I wanted to read a few of the words from her application that were written by her staff. Amy is aware that in order for students on her site to be academically successful, they must feel cared for and safe. Only when those two things are accomplished can students truly learn. In any meeting, discussion, or movement, Amy has a central question that must be answered. Is this best for kids? Amy creates opportunities for her staff to take on leadership roles. Mrs. Dyrek has a keen sense of these people, and if they have the knowledge, willingness, and capacity to serve the rest of the school in a leadership role, she will graciously step aside and allow these employees to flourish under her. And finally, something that Amy touts as important in understanding the global vision is its importance in developing well-rounded students. And I think that all of you along with me tonight could be proud to see that Amy has won this prestigious award from State AXA. And next up we have, oh, would you like to do her first? Okay.
Brad Oaks folks coming up?
That would be awesome.
No one gets anywhere by themselves.
And I think there's a Braddock student or two in the audience who should also come up. Right? And you get to sit right around the stand right away. Oh, come on. Think you're going to be right back there?
I just wanted to say thank you, especially to the staff members that are here tonight, because they're truly my family. I mean, we're together more than I even get to see my family, and we all have a common mission, and it's for our students. And so I thank you because you definitely make it all possible, and you let me be part of such a great team. So I appreciate it so much.
Next, we'd like to call Stacy Ayers up. It is quite a celebration tonight. Stacy Ayers is being honored by AXA Region 15 with the Charter Leadership Award. Now, this award goes to an administrator of any type, elementary principal, any of the cabinet members. It's one administrator across 10 districts in Southern California, and Amy has won this award. Stacy, I'm so sorry. Stacy. I have a real problem with names from time to time. I'd like to read a few words that were written on behalf of Stacy in her application to receive this award. Stacy Ayers is an inspirational leader in the Monrovia Unified School District. As the district has hired several new administrators in the past few years, Stacy steps up with a warm smile and an assuring manner to help and assist and to work alongside of the newest members of the team. She shared with me that her proudest moment as a principal was her 6th year as principal when she watched all the 5th graders that she had known since their first day of school walk across the stage. All the memories that she had over the years with each and every student came flooding back. Having the opportunity to be at a school to see the group of students through their elementary years is rewarding. She had been part of the celebration and turbulent times with their families. Each child had a story. Each family became a part of her heart. And I think that we can see that these two administrators bring a lot of heart to our district, and that has been recognized by the AXA organization.
Bring up that memory. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, this is wonderful.
Thank you.
Some of the milk?
I think we bring Wild Rose down.
That's right.
Frank is running away. I just wanted to thank all of the staff that showed up tonight to celebrate this occasion, and also just wanted to take a minute to introduce my family. I'm sure many of you just saw them. This is my mom, Kathy. This is my dad, Dean, and then my husband, Frank. And my daughter, Alyssa, and then my son, Steven. When I started at Wild Rose 10 years ago, they were teeny. So thank you to putting up with all of my late nights and weekends and hard work. I really appreciate everything that you all do. And I see all of you probably more than I see them. So thank you for putting up with me every single day. And thank you once again to AXA and to Dr. Kaiser for the nomination. I appreciate it.
The board would like to congratulate one more time all the people who are recognized this evening. We have so many wonderful things that are going on in our school district, and it's always nice to be able to pull a few people out so they can be recognized publicly for the fantastic job that you do. Jaden, congratulations to do. It's hard to be in middle school, and when you succeed at middle school, it is truly something to be rewarded. Congratulations to you. We'll now take up board member reports, and Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Board President Hammond. Tech Master's got me some backup here. I just wanted to thank the varsity and JV cheerleaders. I'm sure some of you are aware that last weekend they were the winners of the NRG cheer and dance competition that was held at Monrovia High School. I got an earful last night because I didn't acknowledge it during the basketball game, which I will do on Tuesday, rather Thursday evening. But you can see the cheerleaders. Obviously, the crowd is closer to us. But at least 10 or 12 of those girls I've known since they were Pee-wee cheerleaders, and so they're special in my heart. Also, they encouraged me to share some upcoming events, which includes, also they did win a Spirit Stick Award for being the loudest team as well. But the cheer is going to be hosting a Sharps competition in April at Monrovia High School, as well as a competition in Las Vegas at the end of this month. But also wanted to personally thank the cheer coach, Isaac Casas, for his dedicated effort with the cheer squad. And I'm sure you've noticed that we have a huge amount of cheerleaders on our team, which includes a lot of 4 boys too as well. So congratulations to the Monrovia cheerleaders and an outstanding job this year. And prayerfully you will continue that effort in your winning in the competition. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Zuko.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. I wanted to report back that last time I said I was going to Washington, D.C. for the National School Board Association's Advocacy Day, and then it started to snow. So they wanted to cancel it, but I didn't want to cancel the trip because I didn't want to think the girl from L.A. was afraid of a little snow. So I still was going to go, and then they really canceled it. They canceled my flight. They canceled the whole town. So I got all the money back from the district. That's why I didn't want to waste any money. So that's been rescheduled for June. So I'll report back later. I wanted to also, I don't know if anybody else was, but the Stations for Dedication, a lot of us went to that. I think it's a great new, just a space for the city and a place for the community to gather, kids to play. And I am really looking forward to some of the events that are planned for that, the band shell and the playground to come up. And finally, one of our former principals, Val Byers, was named Altaloma Woman of the Year for the 41st Assembly District. So congratulations to Val, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wong.
Just to build on Mr. Williams' theme of winning in Monrovia, today the boys and girls soccer teams won, locking up league championships again. So the CIF starts next Friday, since they're both league champions. I'm not sure how they're going to do this because they'll both should be home games, but we'll have to see what the schedule's looking like. But please come out, support your team. It's fun to watch them.
Thank you. Ed.
Just wanted to mention the State of the City address that was happened just a few nights ago. Truly, Monroe is a unique community, and the whole community comes out for that address each year. What I want to do, though, is thank those students from Monrovia schools. Without the Youth Commission, it wouldn't be the same. You're greeted at the first step inside. Youth commissioners there to help guide people and to help put that on. Canyon Oaks brought 10 of their students to hear it. And you know, when I was a teenager, I had a lot better things to do than to go sit and listen to the mayor talk about the town you were at. But these kids are there, they're helping. Such a unique place where we have such a great partnership with the unincorporated area, the city, the school district, and the Chamber of Commerce, and it sure showed through on Monday night and made us so proud of those students that were there working hard. So thank you.
Thanks, Ed. And since our last meeting, we've had a joint meeting with the Monrovia City Council. One of the things going to be on our agenda tonight, it's about the Monrovia Day Parade. The other one I wanted to make people aware of is the traffic study that's going on around Santa Fe Middle School. We have a unique situation where we are less than 300 feet away from a major public transportation project. And so it's going to be different on how cars have been moving for the past few decades. And so in anticipation of it being different and in anticipation of making sure that all of our students and parents are being able to get to school on time and safely, there's going to be a traffic study done, so there'll be a benchmark so we know what the patterns look like. And then after the train is fully operational, there'll be another study done so that we can see if the flow of traffic meets the safety that we think that we should have, and it meets with the demands of the people who are using the services around the train. So I just wanted to make folks aware of that the school board is intimately involved in working this issue so it doesn't become a problem, so that we can address any needs prior to there being a problem. And the issue about the parade will be in about, about 35 minutes on this agenda, and I'm hoping we have an exciting time on that. If there, God, I just tipped my hand, didn't I? Next, we have our reports from the superintendent, and you would like to have Mr. Oh, I'm sorry, I ran right past Heather. I'm so sorry. We were going to have our student representative report, and Heather is here tonight to tell us about all the fantastic things going on.
On Monday evening, the mayor of Monrovia, Mr. Tom Adams, recognized our student leadership team in his State of the City address at the Krikorian Movie Theater. It was a tremendous honor for them to represent Canyon Oaks High School on Mountain Park. Students had the opportunity to experience an important civic event along with other dignitaries, businessmen and women from the local community. The last week of January, we had our first school-wide writing assessment that implemented the document-based question project to help improve the way all students clarify their thoughts and ideas through writing. The purpose of this All Right was to get our student body more fully engaged in the writing process. Ultimately, this method motivated students to write better in preparation for the SBAC testing, sounds intimidating, coming up this spring. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Now, superintendent's report.
I have a couple of items. First, I do want to thank Calvin McKendrick and Katie Chick, who are also at the State of the City event on Monday evening, despite the fact that that was actually a school holiday for students and teachers. They were certainly there representing, and I was proud to be able to have them recognized in full view of everybody. They are a wonderful group. I also would like to add to the number of wins. Oh, and here we have Mr. Furtick, Principal Furtick here in the audience, thank you for sending such a tremendous group to represent. We have a few more wins I'd like to recognize. 4 of our elementary schools have been recognized as gold ribbon schools.
Wow.
And will not require even a site validation visit for them to earn this distinction.
Wow.
So the full suite of gold ribbon schools in California for elementary schools only will not be published for a couple of months because there are still some site validation visits to be had by other districts and not ours. And so I do want to recognize them. Also, we have an update today about the construction efforts at Monrovia High School, and Vince Marchetti is here, our Director of Maintenance, Operations, and Transportation. He'll provide us with an update of the reconstruction efforts.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. Some of this you've already seen again. We took some of the slides out to update it some more. Obviously, on November 30th, everybody's aware of what the tragedy was at the high school. This is what the school looks like right now. We hope to restore that look very, very soon. This is the lobby, the way it currently looks right now after it's been cleaned and opened, so that the church actually uses this part of the school right now to enter and exit the building, as well as the side doors back towards Friendship Circle. This is the auditorium, how it looks now after it's been cleaned and ready for use. And it was opened back for use on January 29th. We received all the environmental clearances back by then, and we were able to open it up, and church was held the first time since the fire on January 31st in the auditorium. So we're excited about that. Some other views of the auditorium with it being all clean. This is the classrooms behind the auditorium, classrooms 117 and 119. They've been opened back up as well to help alleviate the pressure that's been put on the rest of the site for classrooms. This is a portable classroom, temporary housing that we've put on site. This is the inside of the classrooms. I expect to have those open and ready for class by Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. We're finalizing the data portion right now, and we should have those open on Tuesday or Wednesday. This is the student dining area. This has all been put back together. We did air sampling in there, as well as wipe samples, checking for ash and soot, that there isn't any left around in the air or on the surfaces. I'll have those reports should be back on Monday afternoon. So we'll be able to make a decision on that for Tuesday or Wednesday of opening back up the student dining and kitchen, which will also help alleviate some pressure on the kitten coop and those. And then food services has done a tremendous job of feeding those students out of that small area. And you don't realize how small that area is until you put 10 or 12 workers in it and put 1,600 students up against those windows. It's a small area. This is the structural repair that was made in the area above the counseling office. This area here was burned out. These joists were damaged in the fire and have been replaced now or sistered up to accommodate the repair. This, we were fortunate to, Connie worked some magic and was able to get the regional director of DSALA, which is Division of State Architect, out to the site. We were able to show him our dilemma, and he result of that was he went back to the office and worked with his staff, and we received approval yesterday.
Oh, very nice.
So that from the time he was there was about 5 days from the time we had final approval. So we thank him for that. We thank Connie for getting him out there. This is the counseling office as it looks right now. The project is out to bid. Several contractors have looked at it. We expect to get proposals back mid next week so that we can make a decision and bring that to the board on the 24th with a recommendation for award to start construction the first week of March and with a completion date of mid-July, so that we can, our goal is to have everyone back in by the time school starts in August. This is one of the struggles we had at DSA right here, was this ramp that's in front of the counseling office, attendance office, that raises up in towards Mr. Eiler's office, that direction, east and west through that main corridor. There's a ramp right there that ramps about 7% grade, which requires handrails. And that was missed in previous projects. And that was daylighted in this one by the access compliance plan checker. And we have to put a rail on the side. We were allowed to work this area right here. This door right here is a door that the school does not use going into the attendance office. So DSA is allowing us to close that door and put a railing on that side of the hallway, as well as we have to put one rail down the center of the corridor as well. We're going to install that in such a manner that the custodial staff can remove it so that it doesn't impede their process of cleaning and waxing the floors during the summer. And then when they're done, we can put it back in. That's it for the fire. I have a couple more things. Obviously, the DSA approval, just to recap, was yesterday. The project is out to bid. We hope to have those, be able to award, give you a recommendation for award on the 24th of this month. The ramp, that about covers it, of what's happening there.
Any questions?
So when we wanted to move walls around, that wasn't allowed, but we can take out a door to add railings.
You are correct.
Okay, that's done.
I just have one comment, and that I think maybe the third or fourth slide you showed there of the entryway just warms my heart, because when you think of a fire, you don't think about a lot of what has to go on to make this happen again. And the graduation gowns are hanging back in the lobby. Now, those got covered with smoke, had to be cleaned, you know, hung back up there. Just one little tiny detail, but it's that kind of detail that makes Monrovia High School such a special place. And all those gowns that were signed by the students as their commitment to graduate are hanging again. And that's just a great sign.
I want to just revise, I mean DSA is dumb, not you or our school. I didn't want to make it sound like I thought that was a dumb idea. I just, you know.
I got it.
Okay, I know you did, but I didn't want to have that, yeah, so I apologize.
I've been struggling with that bureaucracy for 20 plus years.
Oh,
so.
I bet. Thank you, sorry, Ed.
Vince, I'd like to publicly say that your efforts, along with the leadership of Ms. Connie Wu, was just extraordinary.
Thank you.
Connie, especially the way you handle things and your straightforward demeanor. I was totally impressed with the representation that came out, our boardwalk, the audacity just to have this done so quickly. You know, so I just want to say that publicly. I'm totally impressed. I'm a proud board member to have such a huge structure, you know, so it's just so damaged, and then to have this type of effort, you know, to come along and even have, you know, to be prepared for next year. It's just incredible. So, Ms. Wu, you're outstanding. So I just wanted to say that publicly, privately too as well. So you should be commended.
Thank you. If I could add one thing to that a lot of this could not have been done without Nelson Santos as well, sitting in the background there. Getting the contracts in place that you're going to look at tonight, and those types of things, and getting the bids out and that type of stuff, the furniture inventories and all those types of little things that we don't see, and he's been responsible for all of that.
Kudos to you, Nelson.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Vince.
Thank you.
And the next update I'd like for Patrick Garcia to provide, and it is about some of the wonderful opportunities, enrichment opportunities we have for students during Black History Month.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me? So this is our third annual opportunity to partner with the Monrovia Duarte Black Alumni Association and Joni Ewell and all of our friends over there. And so what we put together this time is a whole list of opportunities for our students, and we've grown the program every year, so we're very, very excited about that. The first thing I want to talk about is the Black History guest readers. So at the elementary level, every child in every classroom has an opportunity to have one of the readers from Monrovia Duarte Black Alumni Association stop by and share stories with the students and folk tales that help students to understand the whole Black history tradition, which I think is wonderful. At the middle schools this year, we're doing movie nights. Last Wednesday night, we had our movie night at Santa Fe, but if you'd like to come tomorrow night to Clifton at 6:30, we are screening Remember the Titans, starring Denzel Washington, a great movie, and I think that'll be a lot of fun. Third of all, we're doing this weekend on Saturday. I think I saw some of you at this event last year. It's our third annual Monrovia Duarte Black Alumni Association in partnership with Monrovia Unified School Districts to do the art festival for elementary art. We have over 1,000 pieces of student art that will be on display, and I'll be over there on Friday afternoon with Joni Ewell and her team helping to get all of those pieces up to get ready for the show on Saturday. I also want to say a special thank you to Cindy, the principal, Cindy Lathrop, because typically we have this event in room 210 at the high school, but because there's been some displacement, Cindy very graciously agreed to host the event at Monroe, which is wonderful. Also coming up next week on the 18th, we've invited the New Buffalo Soldiers back. Last year we had them at Monrovia High School. This year they'll be coming to both middle schools, and so from 9 to 9:45 you can see them at Clifton, and their horses will be on display during snack after the presentation there. They'll immediately hightail it over to Santa Fe. They'll do their same presentation between 11:30 and 12:15. They're going to change the lunch schedule around a little bit there and have the students be able to view the horses during lunch there. And then finally, we have a very special thing happening with a very well-known artist in this area that's coming out, and I want to make sure I get her name right. It's Hope Dimitriati, and she does these art representations regarding the abolitionists, and she does visual renderings and multimedia. And so she's actually going to be out all week from the 22nd through the 26th. Students will be coming to see her a class at a time, and all the staff at Monrovia High School has been wonderful and incredibly easy to work with. So we've got a lot going on, and again, I just want to put out a special thank you to my good friend Joni Ewell, our good friend Joni Ewell, and the folks from the Black Alumni Association of Monrovia and Duarte. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Any questions or comments?
Just one question, Patrick, for those watching. How many of these events are open to the public?
All of the events are open to the public, and all of these events are free of charge. So it's good stuff.
So if folks want to see the black soldier, the Buffalo Soldiers,
if people would like,
they can come.
You mean to the school? You know, in terms of space, you know, I'm not exactly sure about that because I'm not exactly sure how many students will be seeing the performance at the same time. But I think in terms of coming to the movie nights, I think that would be fantastic.
Great.
And
Yeah.
I would imagine that if they were to contact the schools directly, as we would have any visitors, they'd just sign in, and we'd probably find a way
We can find
to
some
welcome
space.
them.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
For the Buffaloes.
All right.
Anything else, Dr. Trosian? Up next is public comment for items not on the agenda. This is the time the board has set aside for folks to make comments about items that are not on the agenda. Anyone wishing to speak to the board, simply fill out a speaker card and you shall be heard. Have we heard?
Yes, we have one request to speak from Joanne Spring about Monrovia Reads.
I'm sorry, who are you again?
Just a quick moment to remind you and all of the people who are watching out there, which I usually am in my pajamas. I'm sorry, but I can take the board meetings with a grain of salt when I'm in my pajamas at home, but I do watch. Anyway, I want everybody to know and remind you that if you're looking for something to do in March, I have a couple of suggestions. March the 2nd, we will be doing, Monrovia Reads will be having its annual fundraiser, So All May Read, at the Doubletree Hotel. And it's going to be a fun evening. We have a special kind of surprise that evening, so if you are interested in surprises, you might want to come. But the point of that is to raise money to provide literacy materials and tutoring for all of our students, our youth, and our children in Monrovia. 16 years ago, we came up with the idea of having also, as part of this, a Read Across Monrovia, which will be held the following morning on March the 3rd, or March the 3rd, Thursday. And many of you have participated in our Read Across, but I need to tell you that that's a very fun experience and it doesn't cost a thing. It's a great partnership and a way for our schools and the public to connect with our kids in the classrooms. And I even get thank you notes from readers who say, thanks for letting me do this. It is a wonderful experience, and many of you have done that, and I appreciate that so much. And Rob, you were a charter member of Monrovia Reads, so and you read every year, as do several of you. But I'm looking forward to having more people. So I have forms. If you're not familiar with them, I'm sure you are, but I will leave them out on the counter. And anybody who is interested out there watching, Wednesday, March 2nd, and Thursday, March 3rd, we'll be focusing on literacy in Monrovia. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joanne. Do we have any other speaker cards? Anyone else wishing to speak to the board on any item that is not on the agenda? Seeing and hearing no one, I'll close that portion, and we'll take up the matter of public comment for items that are on the agenda. Anyone wishing to speak to the board, all you need to do is fill out a speaker card and you shall be heard. Do we have any cards? Anyone wishing to speak to the board? Seeing and hearing no one, we'll close that portion as well. We'll move on to the consent calendar. We are going to pull item 7.8. Besides that, are there any other issues to be pulled? I'll take a
So moved with the amendment of the pulled item.
Thank you. Motion and a second.
Board Member Zuko?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Williams?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Pick up 6.4, an informational report for the California Mathematics and Science Partnership, Dr. Kaiser and Jennifer Bryant.
I'm happy to introduce to you tonight Jennifer Bryant, who is our director of our Math Science Partnership grant. It's called the CAMPS grant. Jennifer has been directing this full year, this grant, and it's a science grant. She has been very busy with our teachers, ensuring that they get the state-of-the-art professional development, including a trip to UCLA to the Nano Lab. Jennifer is going to give us a report tonight of the grant. The grant is in partnership with the Azusa Unified School District, and it's for 3 years, and the grant amount is $1.7 million. We have been very fortunate in being able to provide this high-quality professional development to teachers of grades 4 through 11. And I'll let Jennifer fill us in on the particulars of the activities.
Well, I am really excited to be able to be here. I'm going to have to stand here so I can touch my screen. I apologize. I'll do this and that will help. So, I'm so excited to be here today to share with you a little bit about the I Am Science Project. All right, I have to. Usually my teacher voice works. I'm not plugged into this. For sure. I am? I have to figure out how to work it. There we go. I'm done. Okay. All right. I'll do it the right way. There we go. So, as Sue said, I was hired to be the project director for the I Am Science Project, and it's been 6 amazing months, and I'm just excited to be able to share a little bit about it with you. The I Am Science Project focuses on preparing teachers from Azusa and Monrovia to implement the next generation science standards. And the next generation science standards are very different from our previous science standards that we've had. The biggest thing is that they are 3-dimensional in nature, and as you can see from the diagram, they're made up of these 3 areas. The first being disciplinary core ideas, which is really your content, so areas that cover the 4 areas of science: physical science, life science, earth and space science, and engineering, technology, and application sciences, all in that core ideas section. Partnering with that are the 8 science and engineering practices that we want to see students engaged in. These are practices that kind of go across all of the content areas, things such as developing and using models, planning and carrying out investigations, and things of that nature that we want to see our students doing in science classrooms. The third component of the standards are what we call the cross-cutting concepts. And these are 7 concepts that kind of unify the sciences, themes that go across all of them, such as patterns, cause and effect, and energy and motion, and things like that. So this is a huge change from just the simple content standards that we've had in the past. And the purpose of the CAMPS grant, the I Am Science project, is to help teachers learn about and implement these new standards. With them, with the standards come some real conceptual shifts, as you can see here. The standards are very interconnected, and not only do we want to see kids practicing them, but we want to have them experience the real-world application of science. The standards are performance expectations. They're not curriculum. In the I Am Science project, one of our key phrases is science is a verb. We do science. We don't learn about science, and that's really exciting, as you'll see later on. The concepts will be building from kindergarten through 12th grade so that there's this flow of learning for students as they progress through our schools. They focus on deeper understanding for students and the application of the content. We have science, engineering, technology all integrated into courses. And finally, the 6th shift is that NGSS really aligns to Common Core and supports the Common Core state standards, as you can see in the literacy standards and mathematics standards that our schools are already implementing. So this gives you a little background on NGSS. I want to tell you a little bit about, or more about, the I Am Science project. As Sue alluded in my introduction, this was a joint project between Azusa Unified School District and Monrovia Unified School District, who partnered to write for an application for a very competitive grant called a CAMPS grant. CAMPS, the P and the S are not, it's not camp, but it's California Math Science Project. And this stems from federal funding, MSP grants, and they serve to help, in our case, focus on science education for 70 teachers in grades 4 through 11. Our professional development is primarily provided by UCLA Center X, which, as you know, is one of the most prestigious education schools in the nation. And as Sue mentioned, this is $1.7 million over 3 years to help us move these teachers into learning about, understanding, and then integrating NGSS into their classrooms. One of the things about a CAMPS grant that is unusual is that it is also a research project. And so we have some goals that are laid out by the state and the federal government that we have to meet. And as you see on the slide here, you can see some of those. We need to increase the body of research on professional development for the teaching profession. We should be partnership driven. We'll see improvement in the quality of our teaching. We'll see improvement in the challenging levels of our courses and our curriculum, and evidence-based design outcomes. And finally, we'll see institutional change and ultimately sustainability after the 3 years. When it comes to our teachers, we have goals regarding their understanding and learning about NGSS. We want to make them aware of it and increase their understanding in the 3-dimensional nature of NGSS. We want to see an increase in the application of the science and engineering practices within their classrooms. And even though we're 6 months in, we're already seeing this happen. And of course, increased understanding and use of depth of knowledge and deeper cognitive rigor and thinking among our students in our classrooms. Of course, our students are always our ultimate goal. And so when we look at the goals that we have for students, what we hope to see is increased student outcomes in science. And this would be anything from grades to California state testing in science, or any other science test the state may decide to come up with in the next few years if they do. We'd like to see increased student-centered and collaborative inquiry in classrooms. And finally, through surveys, we'll be measuring our students' interest in and positive attitudes towards science, science professions, and we're especially going to focus on underrepresented students, such as girls, in the science field. And we're partnering with Citrus, who will bring you some information in that regard, because their program has increased so much in attracting females to their coursework. As we begin working with our teachers, one of the things that we use is something called a SIMPLE model for professional learning. SIMPLE stands for Science Immersion Model for Professional Learning. And what this does is it allows teachers to begin the learning through a teacher lens, looking at what needs to be taught, figuring out, reflecting on what they know currently. And then we delve into the blue area, which is a student lens. And we take the teachers through the actual learning and activities that the students themselves will be doing. And so they experience and reflect upon this as learners themselves, and then come out of that and return to the teacher lens, reflecting on that activity and trying to look at where, at what points in the lesson the learning took place, and how would these things be adjusted so that they can do these in their classrooms with maximum student learning. So the SIMPLE model is the primary model for professional learning that we use in the IM Science project. And we do that for these reasons. It really immerses teachers in the experiences that NGSS call for, provides a lot of time for reflection. This is research-driven, designed by the University of Wisconsin in collaboration with LA Unified, and really incorporates a lot of the research around professional learning and its effective professional learning for teachers. So when you look at the IM Science project, what we are composed of is two major components. Our institutes, which are the heavy professional learning sessions, and then follow-up sessions, lesson studies, we call them, that happen in the classrooms with the teachers. So we started in August with a 4-day summer institute of learning and continued on Saturdays through the fall. Next year we'll be doing a spring institute instead of the Saturdays. And then in December began our first lesson study cycle, where teachers collaboratively built lessons, implemented them, gathered data on them, and refined them together. And then we also, in January, had this wonderful opportunity to go back to our professional learning and visit UCLA and the California Nanosystems Institute, which is an exciting place for nanotechnology. And our teachers came away with bins and all sorts of goodies that they could take back to their classrooms to use. And then this spring, we'll start another cycle of lesson study where teachers will be taking that learning and now implementing and refining their practice in their classroom. These are just a couple of pictures of some of the sessions we've had, the teachers working collaboratively in our Summer Institute. The exciting thing is that the teachers are so excited about science, and yet they're all science teachers. And this excitement about the way that we're going to be teaching science is going to definitely spread to our students. And I want to show you a brief video kind of reflecting that right now. Hopefully the sound works for you.
Here we go. We have boiling water.
So you want to
I think
upside down,
upside down.
hold it upside down with the opening under
Correct.
water.
Here we go. Go, go, go.
Here,
We were right.
give me the other one. Smash the other one down like this.
So I figure if teachers are this excited about things they really already know about, know are going to happen, how great this will be for them as they're taking this back and getting their kids excited about science, getting them thinking deeper about science, and seeing science as something that they can apply in their lives. So this was from our Summer Institute, the video, and that's a picture of our whole group on the bottom. And then the top one is part of the Saturday Institute that we held and some of the collaborative group activities that our teachers are doing there.
Here we go.
Oops.
We have boiling water.
There we go.
It was worth seeing
One more
again.
time, Jennifer.
So, thank you so much. I brought you all an I Am Science pencil. So that you can think about us, and I'm so excited to be able to share more with you.
Thank you.
Oh, and that was so random.
Great job, Jen. Wildcat Green. All right.
If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Otherwise, I just thank you for this opportunity to share with you tonight a little bit about what's happening.
And any questions or comments?
So over the next 3 years, we will invariably get new teachers and lose teachers. I imagine that these are now the teachers that will teach the new process or the new program.
Yes.
Is that worked into them? Sure.
Yes. One of the things about this grant, because it's a research project, is that the 70 initial teachers that started are the ones that are in it. We cannot add anyone to it because just like a good research, all subjects have to have the same treatment. So no one can jump in. So we do have a component that builds leadership capacity and trains teachers to be leaders on their campuses for those teachers that are new or may not be involved.
They won't be added to your study, but they will be learning the process, so there'll be a uniform for the whole district.
Yes, and the district also will have plans to help move those teachers that aren't part of the project into awareness and then implementation of NGSS.
Any other questions or comments? Jennifer, thank you very much, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Dr. Kaiser, anything else? Okay, you had like, man, I want to say something. Nope? Okay.
I want to see the video again.
All I know is when I was in school and did that they said that was destruction of school property. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, some results. Don't do it at home. Up next is item 7.6, student attendance report, and Ms. Wu will be giving.
Yes. On board, beside the regular financial statement report to the legal, and the county also required the district submit attendance report. So period 1 is the attendance covered the first day of school and at the end of the school day before the holidays. So for this school year, our P1 attendance is 5,647 students, which is including the kindergarten to grade 12. Compared with last school year, at the same time, P1 report were 53 attendance, 88 daily average attendance less. The reason is because our decline enrollment based on the census day, which is the enrollment on the Wednesday of October for this school year, we're actually 60 students less compared with last census day. So we continue declining enrollment, make our attendance rate attendance ratio is very important. So the district business service department will work closely with the pupil service department to make sure that we'll continue promoting the importance of this. Each student can come to district every day, not including the impact of their learning as well as the funding that they can generate for the district so that district can support them.
Any questions or comments? Roughly the difference between last year and this year is about $300,000?
You mean because of the kind
80? Yeah.
Yes, around that dollar amount. It's because, but the beauty is the county, when they talk about the revenue generated, they will allow us pick up the higher attendance compared with 2 years, which is current year versus last year. So although our decline enrollment for this year and turn out less 88, but we were able to use last year's 88 for this year's funding. However, next year, if our enrollment continue to decline, then we were able to use this year's 80. But if next year the enrollment turn around and become higher, then we can use next year's higher attendance.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Ms. Wu.
Thank you.
Up next is the preliminary budget report. And Connie Wu again.
Yeah, thank you. So in January, the governor released the 16-17 preliminary budget, and the budget still shows the support from state to K-12 education. The governor will put an additional $2.8 billion to continue funding the local control funding formula. That means that they will increase the gap funding, which means that the state target that by 2020 to 2021 school year, they plan to funding the California public school at the same level back to 07 and 08, which is the best year before the recession. So by the 16-17 preliminary budget release, the governor said that I'm continue to close the gap between the funding from now to the target funding 2021 from 35% to 49%. So because of the gap funding closing percentage, including the 14%, then in our district, we will receive additional $1.7 million if this preliminary budget finalized in the May revision. So that's the one piece of good news. Second piece of good news is the governor continue funding the one-time discretionary money, which means in this year he proposed $530 per ADA for one-time discretionary money. So the district received $2.5 million. For next year, he will funding $214 per ADA. So we calculated this around $1.2 million. If he continued this promise when he finalized in the May revision. On the other hand, the cost of operation is increased also. As the board already know that the teacher's pension as well as classified employees' pension increased also from this year to next year. So combined the car purse, car stores, the total percentage increase is 3%. So that will cost district more than $500,000 to funding this pension. So that's one. And also the board knows that our health insurance will continue to increase. So we try to continue monitor the revenue versus the cost that they should have. So that's very important so that we are solving in not this year, in the next 2 years. And the other new things for this preliminary budget is the governor proposed to consolidate some of the preschool program, which is consolidate the state preschool versus and the transition kindergarten to come up with the early education block grant. So we are waiting for more detailed treasury bill to how this program will be implemented to combine the block grant with in combination of several individual programs for the preschool program, which is in our CERC program right now in our district.
Any questions of Connie? Thank you
Okay,
very much.
I'm sorry, just one. So special ed is only getting a 0.45 cost of living increase.
Yes.
So that is not accurate about how much the cost of living has gone up.
The
0.45 in real life, in like the real world.
Yes, it's the quota calculation is kind of a little bit different right now because of LCF. But you're right, as the board already know that the special ed education state will never give us enough funding. The district right now, our district contribute $5 million average each year to support our special education program. So that's a very expensive program.
And there's no special ed grant block. He seems to be into block grants. So, I mean, couldn't that be a thing? Couldn't we have that? Like, here's an extra $10,000 just to get started to take care of children that are on IEP just as a block grant. I mean, I don't know.
Yes.
You could, but then you just have to increase our
It would take away
deduction,
something
so-
else, I know, but then for the early education block grant, I have nothing. I got nothing.
But thank you for bringing this out. I think the state has a task force for special education try to address the disruption of the state funding, but it takes a long time. And the good news is we had a great special director this year, and she's working very hard to try to find a way to save the program money.
Okay, since he likes rainy day funds, could we tell him it's pouring here and we need a pouring rainy day grant block thing?
Yes, that's correct.
If I may, for the folks that are watching at home, this is actually a really good conversation in the fact that we are mandated by federal and state law to do special education, yet it comes without the resources, the money to pay for the special ed. And so that comes out of the same ADA that we get to teach the other students. And so if a student is roughly getting $6,000, then that is what we need to spend to supply teachers, the space, the books, and all the things that we need to teach the student. A special ed student typically requires as much as 4 to 5 times that much to perform the same function in the same year. Yet there is no money for that. So the money that you get from that has to be taken from someplace else, and it's trimmed off that $6,000 that we receive to educate the other students. What Ms. Zuko is talking about is that it's an unfunded mandate, and it wouldn't be nice if the state government and the federal government were to supply the funds so that we could fully educate the special needs child as well as fully educate the child in the other classroom as well. It's a great conversation, and I do believe it's one that should keep being told over and over and over again, because there's nobody that I know of that thinks that we should not educate special needs students. It should just not be at the expense of the other students.
Yes.
And that's my soapbox for the night.
So say I.
And thank you for the report. Up next is 9.1, and Ms. Zuko will give us an update on our joint meeting.
Yes. We met last week to discuss, well, okay, I'll go back a little further. So we had a joint meeting with the city and the school district on their turf. We went to the city council chambers and essentially came to an agreement of working together as the two governing bodies of this community to put together the Monrovia Days Parade. To really put all of the energy and influence and support we have to make this an amazing event. So through that meeting, we decided to set up a little subgroup. Rob and I represented the school district, and Becky Shevlin and Larry Spicer represented the city, and we met to just come up with some starting points. First, that yes, there is going to be a parade. Next, it will be on Saturday, and kind of worked from there to keep building on providing programs, for providing other entertainment, and just incorporating all of that again to bring it all together to kind of really see how we could highlight the community the best we can and the school district. I thought it was a great meeting because we kind of got through a checklist of a lot of things, and now it is just kind of, the devil's in the details. So we are working all that. We hope to have the support of all of our schools, because really they are our work product. We want to show off how much that we do here in the community and brag a little. So that's really, I think that's one of our goals, is just to show that the community what an asset the school district is and how much it has to offer. Did I miss anything?
Absolutely. I think that
Absolutely, I missed something?
No, absolutely, you didn't miss anything. I think part of this being on the agenda for this evening is to give our staff direction to work with the city. So if that is something that we concur with, we will give staff that direction to work in. It's also the programming in the park that's going to follow the parade. The parade will be on May the 14th at Monrovia Day. The parade will step off at 9 o'clock in the morning, last about an hour. Maybe an hour and 15 minutes, and there'll be programming in the park from 10 o'clock until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We hope it's called Showcase Monrovia is the theme of the parade, and the showcase from the school side will not only be the terrific athletic programs we have, but more importantly, the terrific scholastic programs we have that make our scholar athletes the terrific students that they are. And since we have brand new stuff like the soccer teams or, coming into their CIF championships, I think this is going to be a great event.
The parade also starts at 9 o'clock. It's going to kind of run the same path as the Monrovia Holiday Parade, and we'll finish in the park. But unlike the holiday parade, you don't have to start at the park, walk to the end, then walk to the back. It's just going to be starting at the end and then walk to the top. And we will, I'm hoping to see not like the end of like Independence Day kind of thing, but like, the robotics team having their little robots come up the street or something, and the unicycles from Monroe. And I think it's going to be capped at about 70 or 80 entrants.
Yeah, it'll be
about
finished in an
half
hour,
the
an hour and
entrants
15
that are
minutes.
in the holiday parade. I think that's all.
I also understand there will be multiple activities the rest of Saturday in the park. And among those activities are booths in the park to promote different businesses and different activities. I wonder if staff couldn't look at what the right booths are for Monrovia Unified to have in that park.
Are you saying
You know, you think
booths?
of dual immersion programs,
Oh.
you think math and science, not
I
kissing
can,
booths.
no, I thought you were saying. I
Just
thought
a
you were
booth
saying.
there.
No, I thought you were saying booze. BOOZE,
Oh,
and I was like,
well,
you know, I mean, I guess I hadn't thought of that much booze, but you seem to really want some.
BOOTHS, booths.
Okay, sorry.
Not boots, not booze, booths.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, Alex.
And Ed, that,
Alex. But we have so many programs that we can put people in the park to let people know, and I think of the theater productions and all those things. That are
I think the
possibilities.
possibilities are endless. In fact, there's a small group of people who are meeting right this minute. In fact, they'll meet tomorrow night. They're waiting on the outcome of this meeting and the direction. And they are looking at how to frame the programming for that. There's a number of groups in town that want to be participatory in the success of the Monrovia Day, not only parade, but the afternoon in the park as well. I would ask this, if you have any ideas about what it is that you think that we would like to see in showcasing Monrovia, please do not keep it a secret. Let's get it out. If you can give suggestions, send me emails if you can, because we'll get this group together and start putting together. And I keep telling them there's no bad ideas, but there will be an end to the number of ideas that we'd be able to implement. So if we can get those into the pipeline, and then we can pick and choose of which ones are the ones we want to see. So by affirmation, is this board supportive of going on with this as we've outlined it?
Yes.
Yes.
I think that's 5 of us. I think staff is now clear on what it is, the direction we're going in. Thanks so much. Up next, we have pending board issues.
And we have moved along and completed what we needed to do for this meeting and are right on schedule.
A couple of questions, and maybe see if we want to talk a little bit about it tonight or some other night. The top issue, we talked about board advocacy development. That's the first item on our pending board issue. Yeah, we have no next steps. Could we possibly get some kind of time frame in there for when we might get together with other schools? And I would like to point out that on June the 27th, the Los Angeles County School Trustees Association is having Ron Bennett at their meeting that evening to talk about legislation that affects K-12. So it might be a good opportunity to tie in with some other districts, go to that meeting, get some idea of those legislative issues, and kick off the discussion with.
I mean, like our own 5-star coalition. Is that okay? Okay. And I do remember we had our little script or bullet points that we had. Do we still have? Is that available on our website? So if parents happen to run into Congresswoman Chu, they can go, "Hey, I'd like to talk to you about special ed funding." Is that available for our parents? Because they are probably okay. Thank you.
And this year is a good year to get to the politicians because they're all out looking for votes, so they're out talking. The other issue on there that I wanted to talk a bit about is the superintendent performance objectives. And as I said last meeting, I absolutely let us miss it last year. But April is when we're supposed to have those objectives ready so that you can prepare for next school year. So I wonder if we couldn't get some meetings scheduled so that we can finish having those objectives ready by the end of April.
Thank you for bringing that up.
We can absolutely do that.
That's it. Thanks, Ed. Anything else? Okay, we'll take up 9.3. Mr. Jackson will give us a report on some proposed changes.
Yes, sir. Board President Hammond and board members, I'd like to ask Director Lisa Lynn and Hank Paz come to the podium. for the first reading of the board policy and admin regulation 5117 interdistrict permits. Several weeks back, you directed my office to consider permits as a team, and so I figured what better way than to start this process by revising the policies as a team. The three of us have spent significant time dissecting and editing 5117 as it provides the foundation for our board policies and ARs 5116, 5118 respectively, which are open enrollment and intra-district permits, which we will be bringing forward for first reading at the next board meeting. So with that said, Lisa and Hank will provide an overview of the major revisions to this policy, having kept the best interests of our students at the forefront of this discussion.
Good evening. In the fall, Dr. Jackson and Mr. Paz began the process of reviewing MUSD's transfer board policy and administrative regulations. After I came aboard in January, Dr. Jackson directed both Mr. Paz and I to review our current transfer policies as we researched the California Education Code. Mr. Paz and I wanted to accomplish several goals. 1, clarify and streamline our transfer policy. 2, balance the best interests of our district as we plan for the future while supporting the needs of our families. Here are our recommendations taken in totality. This document provides a foundation for action. Mr. Paz.
Thank you. In the first document we're looking at today, the board policy 5117, it's a broad stroke philosophical approach to how we want to address the issue of interdistrict attendance. And we wanted to trim the document down so it was more directive, simple to read, clear, but yet a fair and efficient process. Again, the interests of the student was high on our priority, but we also wanted to maintain the integrity of the support that the district provides for those students. We reaffirmed the process of the permit involved in a two-step process, that we have agreements with other districts, that we get to choose under what conditions we accept or release students, and that, again, it's appropriate for the needs of the district along the way. In the board policy itself, we don't have all the details of what reasons we use to release or to accept, but the basis for how we make our decisions. More specifically, we go to our administrative regulations. If I could point out Administrative Regulations 5117, where the details of our process focuses on using the same criteria for releasing a student as for accepting a student. I want to be fair that way. Please allow me to point out the major reasons or the key features in the administrative regulation. Of course, we cover the bullying that has been in the forefront of education for the last few years. If there's a victim of bullying, we're ready to respond and give them the appropriate movement to make sure that the victim is safe. The victim is number one in our interests. We also give students opportunities to finish out the year. We give seniors an opportunity to complete their program, and we do that at all three levels: elementary, middle school, and senior high school. If by need we have to work with a government agency in the best interest of a student, we work closely with county welfare, probation, social services, and to affirm that, make sure to give the student the opportunity to have a safe school environment. Of course, we address childcare needs to make sure that students get the proper care and that families have an opportunity to be close to each other. The biggest change probably has been in the criteria of special circumstances. We felt that this was really an area that was not clearly described, and so we felt that specifically we want our administrators to certify that the district has exhausted their resources in addressing the students' needs. And if they bring in other documents or they bring in other experts, we want to make sure that those experts know the student intimately and they know how the student performs within the school setting before we decide to release or accept. Following that, we have siblings. We like to keep families together. This board has always been interested in promoting families. And the last area is families that may be moving into a new area, and we will register students on the basis of escrow papers along the way. One minor change that we've made, we don't ask students to reapply if they're continuing, but we ask them to verify that the information under which the original permit was issued still remains the same. If things change, if you no longer work in that other district, you come back and you're working in Monrovia, then we're not going to give you a release along the way. We've also reworded the reasons why we would revoke a permit. Rather than establishing a number, we're looking at the student to give us the reason or the criteria. For example, instead of 95% attendance, we're saying that when a student's attendance becomes so negative that it hinders his academic progress, we're going to take a real close look at whether or not it's beneficial for you to be on permit. When the student's grades fall beyond a point where he's at risk of not promoting to the next grade level, we're going to take a good hard look to see if it's appropriate for you to be on permit. And of course, behavior. When you become a danger to students or staff, we're going to take a very close look. So those, I believe, are the key pieces that we've changed and simplified. We ended it with the appeal process. It's a three-step appeal process. After the Office of Student Support Services has made a decision, a parent can write a letter, sit down with the director, a decision will be made. They'll have another level of appeal at the district level with the superintendent's designee, and then we will instruct them that they have an appropriate appeal process available through the Los Angeles County Board of Education.
Well, as the board liaison to this committee, I was very pleased about the amendments involved, especially pertaining to the intra-district regarding the schools adjacent to us, which names I won't call out. Obviously our efforts were to keep the students we have, especially with the ADA. And I don't want to use the word bulldog, but yes, I will. In a bulldog effort just to keep what we have. So I was very pleased with the amendments and the efforts that all of you guys made, defining and reading and redefining and et cetera, et cetera. So prayerfully that the board would be pleased as well. Thank you.
If you could briefly outline the changes that we've made for students leaving the district. Because what you described, I didn't hear what the changes are from our existing practice.
Previously, we had childcare, which we still address, specialized program, extraordinary circumstances. And those last two, we felt that they were very difficult to define. Our position is that we offer many attractive programs, but if you need to speak Japanese, wait till you get to college, or you can take it on Saturday school on your own. You can take foreign languages here on our campuses. Extraordinary circumstances, that's when we were looking at when there's a mental or physical situation that the student may feel that it's inappropriate for them to be on our campuses. We're going to make every adjustment we can, and we will work with all medical and psychological professionals that can demonstrate to us that they intimately know the student in our setting and how they can best perform. Does that make sense, sir?
It does, but I want to make this clear. So you're saying that under those two particular categories, the district's standpoint is going to be to deny the application unless proven otherwise. Unless they prove in a very specific case that it is in their best interest because it is something that this district cannot provide to them. And only under those circumstances are you going to, or is this district going to approve it? And just because it may be a particular class that we don't offer, that does not qualify.
That does not
Did
qualify.
I understand that correctly?
That's correct, and you were correct in saying that when the district has exhausted its resources and they can no longer meet the needs of the student.
The other question I have is why, once they do or are granted a waiver to go to another district, do they not have to, again, certify, not just certify and say, yes, I work somewhere else, but provide proof?
We are asking for them to provide proof.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you
We
read
call
there.
it the re-verification process. So we're not asking them to reapply. We're just telling them, okay, now you want this permit. It's issued for 1 year. And if you want it again next year, make sure you bring us documentation that the same status remains.
Again, just to be clear, so once you leave, that does not mean that you are going to be granted a permit for the rest of your students' academic career.
That is
each
correct.
year, they will need to re-verify, recertify that the existing circumstances are continuing.
That's correct.
I wasn't really completely clear on the sibling component. Thank you. Did I understand that to mean that if one student in a family is approved to go to another district, that automatically allows all of the other siblings to go to that same district if they so choose?
When a student has a sibling attending a school in the receiving district, to avoid splitting up the family, we would issue a permit.
I believe part of that discussion was also about identifying what grade levels they're in and the proximity we are to that school district. Those were parts of the conversations we had, and maybe we can better define this one before our second reading.
the sibling one
Because
I
those are
wasn't-
the variables
Yeah.
that we should probably address, and not with any great specificity, but certainly not with the blanket statement as well. So this is one that we can refine before the second reading.
My concern on that particular issue, I can get my arms around if perhaps the siblings were in the same school. Clearly, if we accept one to go to that school, there's probably some sort of special need for that particular child, and emotional support obviously could probably help both. But if one sibling is in high school and the other is in an elementary school and they could be 10 miles apart, I'm not really sure how that has any benefit. So in that particular situation, I would not support just because they're a sibling that they get to go to another district, because I don't understand what the benefit is to the younger sibling, considering they're not in the same school, they're not in the same setting, and there is no emotional support to that particular child.
Well, I'm not taking a stance to
No,
defend
that's
it.
fine. This is just an opportunity for the board to address some of the different things that we're looking at and to put it out on the table. This is just my personal observation when I read it. One of the questions I have.
And we can look at additional language as we've done with the rest of this policy. We've looked at various districts to see what their wording was, and so we can go back and take a look at that one.
So for the parents, for the families that have now students on our special program exemption, like permit to leave, those parents will all receive a letter at some point when this is approved and changed saying, by the way, you no longer have a valid reason to be out of our district.
Yes, and we actually have that letter, which we will include in Friday's update
Now,
for you.
we have in the past allowed continuity to be a reason that students stay in another district once they have. That's been a longstanding reason. I don't see this anywhere listed, so has that now been removed?
Continuity is a term that's been misused in the past.
I agree.
Continuity applies to only open enrollment schools. Those are the permits that we are required to release the student of the 1,000 lowest performing schools. And so continuity would apply only to those students.
Okay. So if they've been using a permit to go to another school to take German, and we are now saying that German is not a valid reason to leave our school district, and you can't claim continuity, so you can return now to this district. Is that,
Yes,
is that
that's
correct?
what we're asking for.
When would the notices go to the families?
We're looking to send them out on March 1st after the board has approved the policy.
I had the same concern about siblings, because especially with when we did have a program reason for people leaving, which I never, could understand anyway, but just because one kid wants to take bagpipes, which was one of our reasons, doesn't mean that the entire family is going to take up bagpipes. So I would like that to not be allowed. I think that's all I have.
Duly noted.
No bagpipes.
My only comment on here is that, first of all, I appreciate everybody's work to get us to where we are today. And I'm sure this is going to be a living document that will be amended over time as we run up against things that we haven't been able to see yet. I think it's a step in the right direction for the very reasons of what we're talking about in declining enrollment, not that this is an enrollment hammer to force you to come to a very good school district like Monrovia Unified. But what it does, it helps give us and the people in the district office the tools that they need in order to help guide parents to make the decisions they need to make. I think it's been so lax in the past that it's just been willy-nilly is not a good term to use, but I would say willy-nilly would probably fit here because sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. And this provides clear guidance on what is acceptable and what is not. I would like to thank Mr. Williams for the time and effort you put into it, because this is truly a very, very important thing that we are going to be outlining. I know it's going to cause some consternation in some parents. I would encourage them, if they have any concerns or questions, to please call any of us or be at the next board meeting, because this will be coming forward again.
I have one more. I'm sorry.
Just a couple of questions. If we just strictly look at the new board policy 5117. The second page says there are two options the board acknowledges when allowing the student to be released to another district, include inter-district attendance agreement with another district and employee-related transfers. Those are the only two options. Explain to me the difference between an inter-district attendance agreement and a permit to attend a different district, please. I'm confused now.
An inter-district transfer permit under Education Code 46600 is an agreement by two boards in which each board details on for what reasons we would allow students to be released and for what reasons we would accept. And so in our policy, we're going to say that those 8 to 10 reasons that we gave, the bullying, the
I'm okay with the reasons. I'm just trying to look at what is an inter-district attendance agreement? Is that Monrovia and Arcadia saying under these conditions we'll do that? So if we don't have that agreement with the district, a student can't transfer to that district.
That's correct. Now, one of the practices that has taken place over the past 10 to 15 years is that each individual document, each individual application is an actual agreement between districts. LA County's recommending that we go back to those 5-year contracts where both boards sit down and agree and sign off that we are going to exchange our students for specific reasons.
So to be clear, at this point in time, I'm sorry, Ed, we do not have any interdistrict contracts with any other districts.
Technically, not that we found, no.
Okay. Well, this is the whole thing. I want to make sure, because as we start these conversations, I need to make sure everybody is on the same page and has the same understanding. Because what I heard you say is, one, this particular document would be board to board, yet an individual contract, as we have been doing in the past, would constitute this agreement as well. So I need to have a clear understanding as to how we're defining this for our particular policies and procedures. I'm understanding this to mean this board has formed or entered into a formal agreement with another board. And I'm not aware of that occurring at any point in time to date.
I think we can go back and verify whether or not such agreements exist, because they were made in many districts for 5-year periods. And if 5 years ago, such a contract with another or an understanding with another board had been signed, it may well be valid. The other part of the education code that Mr. Paz referenced is that it's not only these reciprocal agreements individually signed between school districts about the number of students and under what conditions they would be approved, but also that really the interdistrict permit application by a single student really replaces that district agreement. And so there are lots of ways through which a student may apply, and it's not confined to only those districts with whom an agreement currently exists.
Okay, but as we're writing our policies, we need to define what that's going to mean. So going forward, as the next board, and in 20 years when Kathy's not here, maybe 25, that superintendent will have a clear understanding of what that means. Because I would like this to mean a formal agreement between this board and another board. An individual agreement, to me, does not meet the big picture of what you're trying to explain. To me, an individual agreement either falls under, we're legally responsible for doing this, so we're going to sign off on it, or it meets another criteria that we have defined very well. And that's it. Anything else, any other agreements we sign to allow a student to go would be an exception. But it wouldn't be an agreement, because if I understand what that means, if we sign an agreement and Ed went to El Monte, then by that definition, we now have a contract with El Monte for all students. And I don't think that's what the intent is. Is it?
No, it would have been just for that one agreement.
Exactly, but I don't think that's...
But the board policy that's being proposed here says there's only 2 ways to do it. One is that kind of agreement, and 2 is a job related. So if a parent walks in and says, oh, you know, I work over in Granada, well, wherever, the other side of La Cañada, and my parents live in La Cañada, so I need to put my kid in La Cañada so they can go to my parents' home after school, we say, oh, we don't have an agreement with La Cañada, and it's not employment related, it's childcare related, so then what do we do? I mean, in that case, I would think we would need the opportunity to do the inter-district agreement as a single, this parent needs to do this. So we would allow them to go to La Cañada.
See, but here's my concern.
Because we can't do an agreement with every district in Southern California that somebody may want to go to. I could see Arcadia, Duarte, close.
There's already rules legally in which we have to release, right? I mean, if a parent is working in another district and they require a request that their child go there, we don't have an option, right?
Actually, we do.
We do.
We do. There's no appeal rights for an employment-related transfer. But out of courtesy, we do that. We do support the law that says if you work in the district and you prove that, you can send your student there. So it's been very loose, and I can see the frustration and consternation it has caused. But actually, when I first started in this business, we had 90 contracts with the 90 school districts in LA County. And they were, for 5 years at a time. And then the process of getting those signatures for both boards became awkward, and many school districts fell by the wayside. Yeah. I think that it's a good practice. I would recommend that we go back to that you have a clear understanding of what your neighbors, especially your neighbors, how you're going to operate. So I would recommend that you return to that particular practice of having a contract for 5 years.
And I don't disagree for our neighbors, but for those students that have a valid reason other than employment to go, three districts over, all of a sudden, how big does that circle get that we have to have agreements with? And logistically, doing it with 70 districts, that's not cost effective. So I just wonder if we shouldn't put other provisions in here for transfer out of district, because we only said there's only two. One, either we have the agreement with the other district, or it's employment related. So maybe we need a third, an individual agreement with another district.
We'll look at that language as well.
Okay. And then my other issue, some great work's been done here, and it's a lot of things that we need to do. But when I read the administrative regulation, I get lost. I get lost on what pertains to transfers into the district, what pertains to transfers out of the district, and what pertains to transfers within the district. And if all three of those are to be the same criteria, we need to say that up front. This applies to that. But then, if we say that, the same criteria applies to all those permits. Then when a student wants to come from another district to enroll in our Mandarin program, then we have to allow all of our students to go over there for basket weaving or whatever. If we say the same policy applies both ways.
I would have to say that was that is my biggest concern. If it is same in as out, are we now sending letters to all the students that are in our Mandarin program or in our Math and Science Academy or any of the other programs that we've developed that are outside of the depth? Well, no, because we're saying if we're not going to release our students to go take a German class, that means, if I understood correctly, no. I don't think, and this is, I understood that we're maintaining the same rules in and out. Right. That means we would not accept any students coming in to take a German class.
Or a Mandarin class.
Or a Mandarin class in our case.
I didn't understand that was happening at all.
We would still have the right to be able to accept those students in. We're still making that decision.
Not if you put in our policy that the same thing applies to all.
Did we put that?
And if it doesn't, then we need to be specific. This applies to in, this applies to out, this applies to within. And are we calling within intra?
Intras.
Not intra. I never did find intra in here.
Okay, and just as a...
The one place it referred to transfers to another school within the district, it called it inter.
This board policy only refers to inter-district transfers. Intra-district transfers we would be bringing for first reading to the next board meeting.
Okay, so the one reference to transfers to other schools within this district needs to be taken out of here.
Okay.
And I would have to go back and find that out.
Okay, and we can review that one too.
Yeah, we just need to check that and make sure the intra goes out. And if we're going to have different policy, I mean, we're kind of saying we want a different policy for letting people go and letting them come in.
I do.
So,
I do. I don't have a
I
problem.
think
I don't
we've
have a
said
problem
that, yeah.
stating that very clearly. That I do want a different policy for accepting versus releasing, and it has not only to do with the classes that we have to offer versus the classes we'll release for, but it also has to deal with discipline as well.
So that probably that would probably eliminate an agreement with Arcadia, because they're going to want us to allow people to go over for their theater program or some other program.
Well, this is where I think that there's going to have to be discussions internally on what's best for our particular district and what we really want and what the net gain and loss is to our student population, not just in numbers, but in what we're trying to achieve. So, you know, I like that. I understand the concept of having this thing balanced, but I don't think it's balanced, and I don't think our desire's ever been for it to be balanced.
So if I can ask, would it behoove us to potentially have, before we bring it back to the board, in this context, another study session to review the particular recommendations that we're making? Because it sounds like we still have some significant issues to address before we have a second reading.
Well, it could be that we're just thinking things differently based on what we've seen versus what your experience is. And it could be just a terminology issue versus a concept issue.
I had almost asked for a study session right off the bat because the work that's been done is great. And it may be perfect, but I need to better understand exactly how it's going to work next week.
The board policy needs to represent your philosophical stance.
Well, the policy represents our philosophical stance. The AR represents what you're going to do with our philosophical stance and implementing it, right?
I work at your pleasure.
Yeah. So, as far as I'm concerned, the board policy is really good, except that I think we probably need a third category there, which is individual permits, just to provide us the flexibility when somebody wants to go out to Canyon Country or La Cañada or someplace we can't put an agreement together. Okay. And the AR may be perfectly fine after I understand exactly how it's going to work, but I need to bounce some scenarios off of different people to understand exactly how to work.
It sounds like a study session is warranted.
Why don't we work on putting together the revisions and bring those back to a study session at our next meeting where we can look at some scenarios and refine the language. What we can do is include it in the study session and perhaps even in the agenda and make any amendments we need during the meeting.
Timely for the 1st of March?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. We'll put it both on the agenda as well as a study session so that we can refine it, which means that we'll need the revisions as suggested by the next meeting, and we'll continue to refine it during that study session so that it is ready during the meeting with amendments.
You okay with that?
I'm good.
Ed, you okay with that?
Real quick,
Absolutely.
I know we had a lot of conversations, and before we send you on your way, do you have questions that you need clarified? Because I'm not sure any of us may have given you conflicting thoughts or ideas that you'd want to have a better feel for, because we don't want you to waste your time.
I believe we've taken notes, and
Copious.
We are going to go back to work. We want to make sure that this document represents the board of Monrovia Unified School District, and that it works in the best interest of our students.
Again, I'd like to encourage parents that may be interested in this, either contact board members and/or come to the next meeting to let your questions and concerns be known by the board.
Just for the record, I would assume the study session would have been warranted anyway, since we did have 5 individuals with different outlooks and opinions. despite my liaison efforts. Just saying.
Thank you all very much. It's not a difficult thing to get your arms around. It's quite easy to get your arms around it. What's difficult is to make sure it's fair and balanced. That's where it becomes difficult.
The reason it's difficult is this is the lifeblood of this district. I mean, make no mistakes about it. When we're talking about 100 students, we're talking about $1 million+ dollars.
Yep.
This is not something that we're trying to be picky or petty about, but we are trying to make sure that we're understanding what's going on. And this also helps the board define what we need to focus on. Because if we're having problems with students wanting to leave, we need to clearly understand why so we can improve this. If it is for reasons that are outside our control, we're all good with that. Not all situations are going to be perfect for everybody. But if we continuously run into the same type of issues, then we know that this is something that we need to focus our time and effort on. And the only way that we're going to get this feedback is to make sure that we go through a process in which we understand why a family would want to leave. And so it's imperative that we have things ironed out so we have a way to improve our own district.
I would like to ask if once we get through the inter-districts, the intra-districts, and all of that, I would like to bring back the conversation of revisiting why we keep renewing Resolution 880. None of us entered into it that are in this room. 880, 881, what is it? 881? Yeah, who knows what 880 was? But 881, I would like to see why, because, and nobody that probably currently lives in that area that has children about to go to school bought their house knowing about this resolution even. So I would like to see it go away. We have to keep, just because nothing is set in stone, so I would like to bring that back once we're done with all of this.
Good idea.
Please.
We'll take up the matter of 9.4. Need a motion?
That's me. I move that expulsion case number 1516-06, student number 111117768 be expelled for a period of not more than 1 calendar year. This period commences on the 10th day of February and ends on the 10th day of February 2017. The expulsion is based on the findings and fact that the student violated the following provisions of the Ed Code 48900B, possessed, sold, or otherwise furnished any firearm, knife, explosive, or other dangerous object.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Please have a vote.
Board Member Zuko?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Williams?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Next regularly scheduled meeting will be here in these chambers on February the 24th at 7 p.m. Then followed on March the 9th will be a board meeting, the 23rd of March, and on April the 20th. Some very important dates to remember are going to be that all sites will be closed on February the 15th in observance of President's Day. There will be an all-staff in-service pupil fee day on March the 7th, and progress reports will be going out on the 18th. April the 1st is Cesar Chavez Day, and all sites will be closed. Spring break was April 1 through 8, and there will be another all-staff in-service pupil free day on April the 11th. And there's no more business before this body. We will stand adjourned at 9:08.